shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you. Never lose hope.
Here, Fred Shaft.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, Fred.
Hello, welcome to episode 436 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, February 29th, Leap Day 2024 in the evening. From Northern Massachusetts, it's me, WickedGood. From Teldrassil, California, we have Magesa.
Hello.
And you will have noticed that I am not Edelweiss, and unfortunately, she has gotten sick with COVID, so she is taking the week off to recover. So we wish her all the best in being able to recover from that as quickly as humanly possible, but also that we don't want her to push herself and try to record anyway. So she's taking the week off, but we're here, so it's just the two of us. And so, Magesa, how's your life and ladder been going this week?
Well, I had a coaching earlier in the week where we decided to play some Spell Demon Hunter, and that was a ton of fun. And we were playing a version with Jotun, although I'm gotten less bullish on Jotun because I feel like I never have time to play him. If you do have no pressure and you get him down, then it's great, but you have a lot of healing in the deck, you have a lot of draw. Plague is not maybe your favorite matchup because you have so much draw, and you definitely don't play Jotun against Plague. But I still found I was doing, that was a winnable matchup. You can do a lot of burst damage with the deck. That was super fun. But I started seeing nothing but Energy Shaper Mage, losing to that.
Oh, really?
And I decided. And I guess I should say not necessarily always losing to that because Spell DH can do so much damage early, but just getting tilted by it. I suppose I should more say like losing spiritually.
Because I've been playing that too, and I've been farming them. Like that's been the best matchup, and it's not been close as far as like my best matchup.
Can't do. Yeah, not losing to them unless they get absolutely the nuts off their first Energy Shaper, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's really hard for the mage to race the Spell Demon Hunter. You have Sif there as a backup for the Energy Shaper Mage, but it's not fast. It's nowhere near as fast as Spell DH. But I decided, you know what? We're close to rotation. That's the point of this stupid Energy Shaper deck, so I'm going to give it a try. And I have been having a blast. I am sorry to all of my opponents. I had a game which made you comment, this is how people feel when I tell them about my Control Priest Mirror, where I got both the recast 15 spells with one Rameth achievement, as well as the summon 7 vortexes with one elemental inspiration, which I don't run in my deck. I just got that off an Energy Shaper, to be clear.
I mean, of course, right? Like that's just the way things go.
And I think the 7 probably came from when it was recast by Rameth. And in this game, they got a much better Energy Shaper start. They got their Rameth down first. Their Rameth had like a complete clear in it, and like a Jive Insect, and all this, and like a heal, all this stuff. And my Rameth didn't have anywhere near as much stuff. I had managed to generate an Eggwin somehow. I can't remember how, and they stole it from me with a Drown, and then Finleyed it into their hand and played it.
All of those games are just like, which way did the truck come from? Like,
but their Rameth drew them so many cards, they burned their second Energy Shaper and their Sif. So I was like, well, my Sif's at the bottom of my deck, but I have time to get there because Rameth didn't actually kill me. It just cleared all my stuff. So waited until the last second. My Rameth had a solid alibi in it. So I am not blameless in this story at all. Because, my Rameth had a solid alibi. I played that on the last turn, and then I managed to sift them down to only down to 1 because they'd gained 1,000,000 armor, but they couldn't clear my board. So it is once again a lesson, as in Spell Demon Hunter, by the way. If you can get them to 1, just do it anyway, right? Unless maybe they're a control warrior, they're going to get 1,000,000 armor and you can do more next turn. Most of the time, if you can't quite lethal them this turn, just do it anyway. Especially if they're not a blood DK, which we're not seeing right now. So
thank goodness. Yeah.
Thank goodness. And
That's
then
one
most of their
small
stuff is
mercy, I
rotating.
guess. Yeah.
So I absolutely understand the tilt that some people are having about Energy Shaper Mage, and obviously had some of it myself, but it is a fun deck to play. I would be worried if it wasn't rotating, for sure, but because it is rotating, I am having a good time with it, and maybe I'll get bored and then want to hit people in the face again and do spell DH again. We will see. Or maybe I will just die from all the other life things that I have going on. We had the science fair type of thing yesterday, and that was actually really fun. I had students with like a little robot project that would with a face that would turn its head if there was a loud sound, and also it drove a car. And we had someone who'd made a sort of 2D pixel art game in Python that was actually quite elaborate. And so that was really fun to help show off, but definitely cut into my ladder time.
Yeah, I can imagine that might take a little bit of your ladder time to do that. Yeah. Meanwhile, I spent the weekend in the dumpster, literally. We had a dumpster in our driveway like last week, because the last week was school vacation week. So we ended up, and when I say we, I mean Maureen and one of the twins mostly, was just like cleaning out the basement. And, I ended up just bringing up all the heavy stuff. Like we got rid of apparently we've just been collecting broken vacuums. I don't know how this has happened. But I mean, we've been in this house for like almost 20 years. So I guess you just kind of collect broken vacuums and there's nowhere to get rid of them. So we just had a bunch of them. And so I ended up bringing up like a bunch of those. Some like I had like my old exercise bike that had broke, like the belt had snapped on it. We didn't know what to do with it. Like an old mattress and box spring and just like a ton of cardboard. So we got rid of a good amount of stuff in the basement. We're probably going to, we made a dent. We're probably going to have to do that again, but it was, I like to joke. It's funny because there was one day I was leaving for work and Maureen said, "Can you just help me with the dumpster before I leave?" I said, "Babe, your rank is fine. I don't know what you're talking about." She just glared at me because, dad jokes. But I did get baited into playing Thief Priest. It went about as expected. Against most of the decks, it kind of fell on its face, though. I did have a couple of very, very cathartic games against Excavate Rogues. There was one game where, and I'm not going to regale with all of them because they all kind of end up being about the same, but there was one game where they had played Ajara, gotten the Horn, and not yet played the Colossal. So I stole the Horn out of their hand, got a Krakatoa, as one does. And I think, I don't know if I shadow. Oh, I had a breakdance also because, of course I did.
Of course.
So I played it again the following turn. And, they dealt with that as rogues do. And we went back and forth for a while. And they got to a point where they put together a fairly sizable board. They had like an Ogre Fist Boulder and you just like a bunch of like crap that they'd assembled on board. And I didn't really have answers left for it, but I had another Identity Theft in my hand. So I played the other Identity Theft and I found a Tess. And that was the end. That was the end of that game. So I think they were at 6 and it was actually lethal because I had 2 Krakatoas on board at the same time and they both contributed the +2. So I just attacked into one of the minions and then went face with the weapon for 6 and killed them. So
incredible.
That was good. That was a nice palate cleanser, but it didn't work out that way for very long after that. And I did end up switching the spell Demon Hunter, and I realized like the problem that I have with these metas, and we're back to where we were with the Excavate Rogue meta, except now it's Mage, is that there is no way to play Control in this meta because you cannot play Control against 52 card pickup. Like, it's just not possible. You can't play against like every card in Hearthstone. So I decided I'm not going to try. I'm just going to hit them in the face. And that's going to be my control strategy. And it's generally worked. I lose to Warrior and I lose to Death Knights, though. I've started playing Jotun against the Plague Death Knights, and it's often fine. Like, I haven't necessarily won those games, but it was close. It was closer than I thought it would be. It's bad if they get Helya down, but otherwise, like, you're going to draw the plagues anyway. So if you're just getting them out of your deck, it's generally not the end of the world. And like, you have like Unleash Fel to heal back up and stuff like that. So it's not terrible, but
the healing helps enormously with the spell DH. Like, that's something that you definitely have to remember that you have. And Warrior is the most frustrating matchup. I would say Warrior is also frustrating as the Energy Shaper mage, because that Sif finisher is harder to pull off. So
a little bit. When they have like 30 armor, it's a little bit more difficult, But yeah, I mean, I've been beating other things, but I've just, like, every mage that I play against, it's like, oh, this is going poorly. Oh, I just have like 16 damage from hand. Okay, deal with it, right? Because they don't taunt, right? So like, that's where sometimes you'll get into a bit of a scrape, as if they can taunt, and then you have to be able to remove the taunt, which you can do, but sometimes you just don't have everything left. But they don't really generate taunts a lot, so you just kind of, and sometimes they'll Hellfire and help you out by dealing 3 damage to yourself to clear your deal with the devils and whatever. So that's been going well. I'm at, like, I think 1500 right now.
Nice.
I'm not gonna push my luck anymore tonight. We're recording on the 29th. The month's gonna roll at midnight. I'm just gonna see what happens. I've been at lower the last couple months and gotten lower, meaning a higher number, and gotten 11x. So I'm just gonna ride it out and see what happens. I'm probably going to look at Twist for the first few days of the month at least, just because that's going to be the new Twist season starts tomorrow, which is every day they're adding a set. So I don't know about, day one is probably not the day I'm most excited about, but like, I really want to play original Mech Mage because I never really got a chance to. I know it's not going to be the same without Sorcerer's Apprentice, but like, I just kind of missed out on like playing Mech Mage the right way. Like, there was still Mech Mage when I started playing, but then we had like the BlackRock cards in it, so it was a little bit different. But so I'm looking forward to that and see how that goes. And in between climbing, but I mean, we're not getting the new set till the 19th. I'd really just need to get to Legend before that, which I'm pretty confident I'll be able to do. And I don't know how many games I want to play in this meta. I'm glad that they buffed some of these cards. I don't know that Energy Shaper was the one that we really needed to buff after just coming out of the Velorock meta. But,
that's true.
Like I think the rest of it was great. I think Spell DH is a deck that wasn't really a deck before. I had fun with the few games that I played a Thief Priest before I remembered why I don't play Thief Priest. But it's just like I don't love, and I know that some of the competitive players, I feel for them because I cannot imagine.
Yeah, trying to actually go for a Masters tour in this meta.
Yeah. Like I know I saw Language Hackers saying something about it the other day, and like, I can't imagine trying to grind for a number one finish in this kind of a meta where it's not like completely like random nonsense. Like, there's a game plan for the deck, but it's not like a deck you can really like reliably grind on and expect things are going to go the same. And playing against it is miserable. Even when you win, it's miserable.
I do think that there is, just like with Rogue, maybe a little bit less than Rogue, there is some, because there's so many discovers, there's definitely some skill expression when you're playing the deck. When you're playing against it, you just have no idea what to do. There are certain things are probably coming, but what did they just generate? Like, even compared to Rogue, it's where you kind of know what the excavates are going to do. You really don't know what the mage has gotten.
Yeah.
So I can absolutely see that being frustrating. I am going to have a time next month because I generally try to hit Legend before there are major changes, because it can always be a little trick, hit or miss whether I'll find something fast enough after rotation. But I have a final for my grad school class that I volunteered to do early so I would be done before the expansion came out. I forgot about theory crafting, so but it may be a little interesting whether I can hit legend or not. If I do as well with Energy Shaper Mage next month as I have this month, I'll probably hit legend. But it's not the kind of deck where you can just assume that your luck will stay the same.
Yeah, I mean, if you end up in 10x, then like you just need to get to Diamond 5, and then you'll be beating up on people who are probably significantly worse than you are. So that might be in your favor. But also, you only have 11 days, not 19, because they're going to have the Franken meta when the 29.0 patch drops.
That's true.
So
this may be interesting.
Yes, it possibly in the Chinese proverb sense. We'll see. But that's we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot of cards that dropped, and we have some news to talk about. So we should start talking about that.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
Okay, so we had patch 28.6.3, which is a server hotfix that came out yesterday, which was Wednesday. This is predominantly a Battlegrounds patch. It's there. We'll link it in the show notes. You can go look at the particulars. Long story short, they gave some heroes more armor. They took away armor from other heroes. They made some quest adjustments and quest reward adjustments. That's all. I mean, that's really, it's a standard kind of micro adjustment. Battlegrounds patch, you can go look at that if you need to see the particulars. If you're a high level Battlegrounds player, you will. They also made some changes for Arena. They decreased the appearance rates of Conductivity, Lightning Reflexes, and Giant Tumbleweed, probably because they're either really, really busted or really, really bad, depending on which card it is. I imagine Giant Tumbleweed is probably busted, and Conductivity is probably like a blind card in Arena a lot of the time. And they increased the appearance rates for Dragon Tales, Raid Negotiator, Cycle of Hatred, Bartendo Bot, Fan the Hammer, Kabbalist Home, Inquisitive Creation, and Blast Charge. So some of those are, better performing. Some of them are worse performing. I know I've heard Kabbalist Home is effectively a trap, but something like a Fan the Hammer is probably pretty good in Arena, I would imagine. Same thing with Inquisitive Creation. Even if it just does like 2 across the board, it's probably fine. So that's what's going on there. We also got some shop updates. So we got a number of new signature bundles in the shop. So Reska, Sheriff, Barrelbrim, Freya, Keeper of Nature, and Kangor, Dancing King are all now available in the shop. You can buy them with the signature card and 5 Badlands packs for $50 USD or 5,000 runestones. Even the signatures that are not from Badlands still come with 5 Badlands packs. So if you are so inclined, if that's one of the ones that you've been targeting, go ahead and take advantage of that. We also had some... I don't know if this was there last week or not, but it looks like Mimeron and MC Blingtron are also available as bundles. I don't remember if those were there last week or not, but they were new to me. So I know there are a lot of people who really like the Mimeron art in particular is one of the best signatures out of Titans.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites.
So for the cool price of $100, you can get Sif and Mimeron, which I was lucky enough to open on day one, and rarely use either of them. So
But you keep reminding us about that.
I know. That's my job as the priest main, to be the villain of the piece. So. I should say I finally got my priest icon sticker for my laptop yesterday, and it looks very nice next to my Concede sticker. I tweeted that out. You can go see it on Twitter if you want to see that.
It looks very cute, and as much as I was teasing you that it should be purple, it works better with the Concede logo colors for it to be.
Yeah, gold. It kind of has a nice motif.
Yeah,
and it gives me an excuse to use the word motif. So. So we also have 2 new portraits. We have an Anniversary Malfurion and an Anniversary Gul'dan hero portrait. Those both come with 5 class packs for 1,000 runestones or $10 USD. I saw postings earlier in the week that the Cat Demon Hunter and Little Lion King Anduin were both available in the shop, though I didn't see either of those in my shop. I don't know if that's because I already own them or because they aren't there anymore.
I saw both of them yesterday in my shop because I didn't own them, and I got Little Lion Anduin because it's Anduin with a little lion. It's very cute.
It is adorable. It's one of the few acceptable Anduin portraits.
Yes. Saber Tender Illidan, also very cute. They were for 1,000 gold or $7 USD.
Yeah.
And I believe they are still there, but I am not positive.
Okay. Maybe I just didn't see them in the shop because I own them both. So that's also possible. The new shop is more dynamic. So that is it for shop updates. The anniversary event is live. So there are a number of quests. You probably want to do the quests in order to advance, because you will get some advancement by playing, but you'll do faster with the quests. You will earn along the way, you will earn golden copies of all of the class gift cards. And then finally, if you get through the entire thing, you will get the birthday coin, the 10th anniversary birthday coin. So there is a little bit of, I don't want to say controversy, but it's a little bit of disappointment that there was, Ben Hearthstone was posting on Twitter today that he got it and there was no golden animation, no play animation, no nothing. Cora had replied to him and had said the golden animation and visual effects do exist in 29.0 and they are cute and there's confetti, but not in 28.6, which is why you aren't currently seeing them. So do what you need to do to get the quest done now, and then you'll have the coin for when we have all the fancy stuff.
And the quests, you do want to do the quests, but they're fairly flexible quests. They'll say, play this or kill it. So you don't have to go that out of your way, but you probably do want to at least check what they are and maybe play slightly towards that if you care about the rewards for the anniversary event. You can also re-roll the daily ones, and just like regular quests, they might start with something a little more specific and then re-roll into just like win 2 games.
Yeah. So do those, and while you're getting yourself to legend or getting yourself to whatever rank you normally play at before the new expansion starts, you'll have some time to do that. But that is that's all the news. But aside from a gazillion cards that we had revealed, so let's just get right into discussing that.
All right, so we had a lot of cards revealed. We had all of the rest of the neutrals revealed, as well as all of the warrior cards and all of the druid cards, and also a extra warlock legendary that was actually revealed last week after we recorded on Friday. I did want to make one note. I wasn't sure where to put it, so I just put it at the top on miniaturize. I had a clarification from Hat that it works like Mana Thirst, so it happens like a battle cry when the minion is played, but it doesn't interact with something like Bran that affects battle cries specifically. So just like if you have seen warriors playing Astalor after they cast Bran, the battle cry part happens twice. They get 2 of the next Astalor, but the deal 2 damage or gain 5 armor only happens once. So Mana Thirst does not the miniaturize, I should say, acts like Mana Thirst. It doesn't happen if you summon the minion. You have to play it, but it won't get doubled by Bran or anything like that. We also got a very cute little graphic on the Play Hearthstone Twitter of the Whizbang's Workshop Factory Tour, which shows us a little bit about the sort of theme for each class in the expansion. So we have in the playroom, Druid is dolls and doll houses. Hunter is plushy toys and animal figurines. Priest is arts and crafts, which I'm curious what that's going to look like. Somebody in the Discord was pointing out that Kazakis crafts potions. So They were like, Kazakus is coming back. I don't know if that's true, but it would be funny. In the library, we have Mage with puzzles and Shaman with fairy tales. If you saw that at the first image that they posted was incorrect, it said Shaman totems. That is not true. It is Shaman fairy tales. In the Game Hunter, there is Demon Hunter sports equipment, which I find really funny, Illidan, to have the like jock sports equipment. Like on the one hand, it fits him, but on the other hand, he's so emo. We have Paladin with action figures and collectibles, which definitely tracks. Rogue with water toys, and Warlock with tabletop games. And Warlock definitely is who you would expect to suggest to play Monopoly when the family gets together. With the worst possible house rules.
Or diplomacy. I could see Warlock wanting to play diplomacy.
Warlock
because diplomacy is the actually the most evil tabletop game ever made.
Play diplomacy and absolutely crush all of their friendships.
Yes.
And finally, in the basement, we have Warrior with mechanical toys and science kits, and Death Knight with the toy graveyard, which I am curious to see what that looks like. So if you're curious about that graphic, it's in the show notes or it's on Play Hearthstone's Twitter, as well as everywhere else probably by now.
Yeah. And before we go on to the cards, there's one other piece of news that's late breaking that Donkey is alerting to us to in the chat. There's a known issue that some legacy cards are missing from Twist. So when that starts on, that's just been announced because the new Twist season is live in Asia and Europe as we are recording this, and they found that some cards are missing. So if you're playing Twist and you're seeing some cards missing, yep, they know about it. They're going to fix it. Anyway, back to the cards.
All right. Well, we wanted to start with some legendaries. So why don't we start with the card that was revealed on last week for Warlock, a legendary shadow spell, 8 mana, Wheel of Death, in all caps with 3 exclamation points. Destroy your deck in 5 turns, destroy the enemy hero.
Yep. So in case you were thinking that you could play Prison of Yogg-Saron safely, you cannot. This is there.
There's going to be some clips of that for sure.
Yes.
I will say Tony is not actually rotating, although Tony is nerfed now.
Yeah.
But it is true that Tony is not rotating.
But you know what? If you're really lucky, there's the Togwaggle Druid Hearth Hand.
That's 1% of the time, it works every time.
Absolutely. That'll be a Trollden clip at some point, but yeah.
That'll be like a Mark McCad's video where it took him 100 times to make it work.
Yeah.
I saw, Dawn in the Discord was speculating that this is the kind of deck that will have like a tiny dribble of support cards and then either be terrible the whole time it's in standard or be good for like 3 weeks before it rotates. And everyone gets mad about it.
Like I was having arguments in Lorinda's stream chat over the weekend because they're like, well, just wait to see the other cards that are revealed. Like, no, you don't understand. Like, they reveal the cards together that work together. If they are revealing this card by itself, there's no support coming. Help is not on the way, at least in this set. Thank goodness. This is just kind of a standalone thing that Warlock gets to do.
Or gets to do and then die. So
yeah.
I think you're probably right. I mean, we never saw, she's still in standard, but I doubt we will see. We never saw any support for Rin.
Yeah, or Commander Ulthok, you know.
Yeah, some people like to watch the world burn. Commander Ulthok was occasionally playable off Countess.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, there will be scenarios where, you know, like a rogue or a mage generates this and finds a way to make use of it, right? Like, that will happen too. Like, I like cards like this are occasionally useful when they're randomly generated. You can find a way to make them work. It is a very different thing to be building a deck around this because, like, what you're planning for, like, this is Temporus, right? Temporus was a horrible, horrible priest legendary, like one of the worst of all time. That was a dragon. I don't remember what the stats are on, and it really doesn't matter. Like, your opponent takes 2 turns and after this, and then you take 2 turns. So you basically had to play a minion that didn't affect the board that was expensive, and then live through 2 of your opponent's turns before you got to do whatever the hell you were going to do with 2 turns back to back. And that never happened. And this is even like asking even more of you, because you're basically, you need to be at a point in the game where you have it so on lock that you can not draw another card for the rest of the game. And then you can also afford to take 10 fatigue damage. Presumably there's some things that will shuffle cards in your deck, whatever, like just.
Plus there's like, you don't take fatigue damage with the Void Virtuoso. That somehow has to live.
Yeah, Void Virtuoso is a thing, whatever. But like that still has to live. That's not going to live for 5 turns probably, unless you have something really special going on. And, you know, your opponent has to not be able to kill you after all that. And it's like, did you need this to win the game? Like, that accelerated the game. Sure. Did you need this to win? You probably didn't.
Nope. This is hopefully they keep it to a place where it's something that provides a low roll for Prison of Yogg, something that is kind of funny for someone to make a video about, and not actually something we see.
Yeah. Oh, Donkey is pointing out that Deck of Chaos did get buffed from 6 to 5 mana, and it still saw 0 play, and it didn't get any more support other than that. So sometimes Warlock just gets bad legendaries, and it seems to happen for Warlock more than a lot of other classes. Like, just like really weird bad legendaries, and it's fine.
All right, well, we then got a couple of neutral legendaries. So the first one is Joymancer Geppetto, 8 mana, 6/6. Battlecry, get copies of every 1 attack or 1 health minion you've played this game. So obviously any mini versions of a miniaturized minion that you've played will come back if you're playing Automaton Priest. Those, I think you'll get all of them because they don't get the extra buffs until they're on the board.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, that's an aura. It's an aura that they get, so the base stats of them don't change.
So I could see there potentially being, I don't think we're going to be seeing this all over the place, but I definitely think that there's going to be at least one deck at some point that plays this.
Yeah. Or if you're playing a deck that runs enough miniaturized, then you might just run this just to get more minis.
The minis are pretty powerful.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably the use case. Like, you could see a case in WoW where maybe you'd be playing this in like a lackey deck also. Like, that's also a possibility. But like, you have to be running enough 1 attack or 1 health minions that you care about. I mean, Paladin might just play it.
Paladin might just play it in case, like, in a more aggressive Paladin, this is like, you're like, oh, we ran out of stuff. Let's refill. Yeah. Maybe. There's also the origami cards that we might mention in a minute. So these are cards that have either 1 attack, 1 health, or both, and then swap that with another minion as a battle cry. So you would get those back as well, and those are pretty powerful. A little bit more expensive, but pretty powerful potentially. So
yeah, and they're generally cheap, right? So like you're not playing this on 8, you're probably playing this on 10 alongside a couple of them. So I maybe in a Highlander deck, I mean, that's going to be an answer for a lot of these cards, is maybe in a Highlander deck, but maybe in a Highlander deck, you know, where you're probably going to be playing a fair amount of miniaturized anyway, because it's just more value, then, you know, you could do that, especially like in Highlander Warrior specifically, a lot of the minis are battle cries. So those get better later in the game with Bran, and then you get twice as many of them with Bran. So then maybe that's something that you can make happen. I could see arguments for it. It's going to be a pretty, like, I'm very happy with the power level of the neutral legendaries in the set, which is that they're fairly low and niche. Like, this is a very flavorful card for the set in terms of like, this is the miniaturized payoff, but it's not like broken. It's not even, it might be powerful, but it's not obviously powerful like something like Queen Ajara. Even Queen Ajara was not as powerful as we thought it was going to be, but still it saw a fair amount of play all throughout when it was in standard. This seems like a little bit more niche.
Absolutely. And, you know, that seems like what we want from a neutral legendary, that it might be useful in more than one class, but it's not going to be played in every single deck. from now until it rotates in 2 years.
Yeah.
We also had a card, Lena Shop Manager. Is a legendary 6 mana 3/3. Whenever you cast a spell, fill your board with random minions of that cost. So if you play the coin after you play Lena, you will get a bunch of Snowflipper penguins, which I look forward to being the new coin Concede, although I don't think it'll happen nearly as often. I've certainly done the thing where I coin the Shaman Titan, and then I'm like, why is my spell not free? Oh, it's not the first spell I played this turn.
Yeah. But what's worse is you're going to fill up your board and then you're not going to get whatever's next, right? Like, so if you were like going to do like Lena coin 5-cost spell, well, now you have a bunch of birds on your board, so you're not going to be getting 5 drops. And this is very weird.
This is because she's so expensive and has such small stats. The chances that you can get anything really large is quite low. And you could get, if you wait until fairly late in the game, you can get kind of a... I mean, if we think about something like Elise, who gives you 4 5/5s, and they have all their abilities of things in the deck, and like that's a powerful card, but we haven't seen a ton of Highlander Priest. And these are just dumb minions.
Yeah, and I like... Under normal circumstances, you're at best, if you've audio amplified, you're getting 5 drops. I mean, you could get Leroy. Like, that's something. But, like, that said, right? As long as they're not penguins, like, if you're getting, like, let's say you're getting a board of 2 drops or a board of 3 drops, that's not nothing.
That's
right?
true.
Like, it's still a fair number of stats. So I don't know like what kind of a deck you're putting this in that you would want to be planning to do that.
Donkey in the comments has a interesting point, which is there is that Druid spell that makes it dormant. And since this isn't a battle cry, this is whenever you cast a spell, you wait till it wakes up. And then you can cast a big spell.
Yeah. Or, I mean, you could do that in any class with Sheriff Barrelbrim, actually, because the location doesn't say enemy minion. So as long as you're below 20 health, which you probably would be by this point in the game, then you theoretically could do that. And then it wakes up and you, I don't know, play like a Sunset Volley or whatever you want to do. I don't know what you're going to do at this point. You also need to not die when you're doing that. Right? Like, I mean, I guess you're still getting, in the Druid case, you're getting the 3 drops from the Druid spell because you're playing that. So that's a little bit better. But you're like, this is not a 6-cost card, just to be clear. Like, this is a 9 or 10-cost card. Because if you're not playing a 3 or 4-cost spell alongside of it, then you're probably just you've already won the game and you're just styling on your opponent, or you're about to die. There are use cases. I don't know what they are. I mean, I think that the use case a month ago, if we'd seen this, would have been, well, you'll get this from Chaos Creation sometimes. But that's not happening anymore because now that summons 5 drops, not 6 drops.
Donkey points out I had missed this point originally. This also triggers with the spell that turns it dormant. If you're not doing this with Barrelbrim. So you do get 2 boards that way. I think maybe you play this in something where you might need a board in a box, and you do this with a 1 or 2 mana spell after your more proactive deck, like Lost Board, maybe. If you have a lot of spells in your deck already that you can combo this with like 1 or 2 mana, get a board in a box. I don't know that that's ever the best thing that we're doing, but that might be what you do with it if you're not doing something cute like the Druid Dormant situation.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, though, is it says whenever, not after. So I think usually when it says whenever, that means that it happens before the spell resolves. True. So, like, if you had, like, let's say, like, I was going to say Soul of the Forest, but that's not in standard anymore. But you have, like, some sort of a board buff, right? And then you're playing that, and then this summons all the minions for you.
That's a good idea. Yeah, like if you couldn't do this with the drum circle in the same turn.
Yeah.
But if you did the dormant thing and then you played drum circle when it woke up,
Right.
that would be pretty powerful. So, or yeah, any sort of board buff. That is a great point.
Yeah. So again, that seems awfully ambitious because if you're playing a deck that's buffing its boards, you probably want to be killing your opponent long before you can do that. But I don't know. Do any of the gift cards do that?
I think this is a plan B of your board buff deck.
Yeah.
Right. Like you've lost your board, you need a quick refill. You're playing this with your Paladin aura or something like that, like your Crusader aura or something. Although they don't get buffed from the Crusader aura unless they happen to have Rush when they come out. But
right.
Yeah, this might be some sort of plan B for a aggressive deck.
Yeah. None of the gifts actually do any sort of a board buff, so I don't know. It's it's very weird. I don't know how, like, it feels like this card is not completely useless, but I don't know how to break it. You know?
Someone will probably break it at some point.
Yeah.
If the dormant way is not the way, someone will break it at some point between now and 2 years from now. All right. Well, we also had, we're not going to talk about every single neutral that was revealed because there was a lot of them. And some of them will probably come up when we get to classes that we think might utilize those neutrals, but we pulled out a few. I'll try to go a little quicker through these, maybe more than just a few. And then I added a couple at the bottom. I'm sorry. I messed up your
well, we just won't have art for them on the stream. It's fine.
You can use Theater of the Mind, as we would say in Dungeons and Dragons. So one of the cards that we have is Treasure Distributor, a 1-mana, 1/2 common pirate. After you summon a pirate, give it +1 attack. So have fun with that and patches in Wild, everyone. I mean, if we end up with a pirate deck in Standard at any point, it just seems like a solid kind of arms dealer for pirates.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's arms dealer for pirates. So, you know, what you're going to do with that. I don't like. We might get more pirates in the set. We haven't really seen a lot in the neutrals, and we lost. So I think we lost some pirates, but we did get Ship's Chirurgeon and Priest. I don't know if that's at all a thing, but you know, maybe, or maybe in a later set this year.
Yeah. We don't know what Priest is getting, but maybe it's getting pirates at some point. So
could, yeah.
I don't know. Are pirates arts and craftsy?
I don't know that that's the word I would use.
They make flags, you know?
They yeah, I guess. They make flags.
That mean death. All right. We also had Sing Along Buddy is a 2-mana, 1/4 common mech. Your hero power triggers twice. If we're doing anything with buffed hero powers or hero cards, or just Hunter, honestly, deal 4 damage.
Yeah, that's often the answer, right? Just Hunter. But I mean, like the fact that you don't have to pay twice for it, because we've had cards like this before, like, oh god, I forget, like Garrison Commander, I think was one of them, where like you can use your hero power a second time, or that dragon that let you use your hero power infinitely. But this time you're just paying once for it, which is a big deal. And like we've seen Headless Horseman, like that hero power is, if you're turning that into deal 6, discover 2 undead, like that's pretty good. Any of the Reno hero powers are fine. We've got Justicar coming back in the set. So like if you're getting 8 armor off of a tank up, that's potentially a lot of damage from Odin. So
and
there are use cases.
There are use cases. And Dragonbane is in core, a thing that I forgot until 51 pointed this out in the comments. So it does say triggers twice, not just does twice as much, right? So that would cause Dragonbane to go off twice, which is the Hunter legendary. After you use your hero power, deal 5 damage to a random enemy. And that's also a mech, so if we have some sort of mech hunter at some point,
yeah,
I could see that.
In Wild, you can get 2 legendaries off Confessor Paletris. There you go.
Broke the Wild meta.
I mean, actually, though, in all seriousness, like Rasa Priest in Wild, that's a lot of damage.
That is a lot of damage. Oh, if that becomes a deck, I might pop into Wild long enough to beat up on some very low MMR people with it.
Yeah.
People or bots, as it may be. We also have Clearance Promoter, which is a 3-mana 3/2 common. Death Rattle, reduce the cost of 2 spells in your hand by 1. Seems like there's going to be decks that want to do that. You can't necessarily aim at exactly the spells you want unless you only have 2 spells in your hand. Yeah. But lots of decks, there's could be, even if you're doing a combo, there's multiple cards involved. You're probably happy if it hits any of them.
We've seen plenty of use cases for making spells cheaper. There's still the Freya in Druid that copies your hand. So if you've got discounted spells in your hand and you copy them, then there's something there potentially. So they're again, these are a bunch of neutrals that we're not necessarily seeing use cases for right away, but they're things that, like, there are cards that look suspicious. So I think it's worth calling them out just to say, like, hey, you may not be able to use this right now, but just kind of remember that these exist, right? So,
and Clearance Promoter, we'll talk about Druid in a few minutes, and this is one that I'm thinking about maybe you're putting in a Druid deck. Card Grader is a 3-mana 2/4 common Naga. Battle Cry, if you've cast a spell while holding this, discover a card from your deck. That just seems like it's going to see play. Discover a card from your deck. Even though it's not targeted, discover a spell, discover a minion, it is still a draw that's likely to be something that you want. And cast a single spell while holding this is not hard to activate at all. Yeah,
I mean, it's Nerubian Vizier, right? But except that instead of just a random spell, you're getting targeted draw. Again, is it going in every deck like Nerubian Vizier did for a while? Probably not. But there are going to be spell-heavy decks that want to do this, right? Like, I would imagine any mage that's running Sif would probably run this, right? Because, like, if you're just trying to draw through your deck and find Sif, then this seems like it just kind of slots in there. It is also a Naga for Naga Demon Hunter. I don't think that's going to be enough. But, that's something that you're getting 2 draws off of it also when you're going off with the sharpshooter. So maybe that's a thing. It's probably not a thing, but it could be a thing. Hey, and then you could discount the spells in your hand before that to make it easier. So,
and we are keeping Slither Spear. They did keep a couple of Nagas, so if we're playing that deck, we're playing this card most likely. 3 mana is a little bit expensive-ish for that deck, but it also helps you find your sharpshooter potentially, which is a very important thing in that deck. Okay, next we have the cutest art in the entire set. I haven't seen the entire set.
Second cutest.
Second cutest? Oh, yes.
Because there's that dragon, the gift trap dragon or gift trap whelp or something like that we're not talking about, but it is like it's just a dragon that's popping out of a gift wrap box, and it's delightful. But this is super cute. A very close second.
This is a very close second. We have not seen all the cards in this set, just to be clear, but these are going to be top 5 no matter what is coming, probably. Although this is a set of very cute art overall. So Floppy Hydra is a 3-mana 2/4 beast, rare. Death Rattle, shuffle a copy of this into your deck with permanently doubled attack and health, which means those are white numbers, not green numbers, when it's shuffled into your deck.
And it means that it picks that up when it does it again.
Right. So if the first time it gets shuffled in, it'll be a 4/8, and then it'll be an 8/16, and so on if you manage to keep doing this. And the art is just a stuffed Hydra with floppy heads all over each other and like little derpy tongues coming out of them. If somehow you haven't seen this yet, go look it up on the card library. Everything is in the card library. It's also a beast.
It's a beast. So Hunter may have, like, Hunter's getting Master's Callback, right? So there's potentially something to do there. Like, it doesn't have like Faithful Companions or Harpoon Gun anymore, but getting Master's Call back and running that and getting that in there, especially if there's any way to like copy it or double the death rattles or whatever, like there's maybe something there. I could see it. I don't, again, we don't know what Hunter's getting, but there's potential there.
And they've been trying to push in Death Knight and Hunter certain death rattle copying cards and stuff like that, which have never quite seen play yet.
Oh yeah, Yelling Yodeler's in both, right?
It's in both. I could see that being pushed more. There is also, as you pointed out in the Discord for a different card, that, what is it called? It's a bird, and it draws any cards.
Sharp-Eyed Seeker.
Sharp-Eyed Seeker. If you have cards in your deck that didn't start there, draw them. So you can't do this.
If you have a card in your deck that didn't start there, draw it. So it only draws one.
It only draws one.
Yeah.
Okay. Still, you can tutor this because there's only one Floppy Hydra going back in.
Yeah.
And it will draw the Floppy Hydra that got doubled, not the other copy of Floppy Hydra maybe that you're running that did not get doubled. So it is possible to tutor this after you shuffle it back in. Although be careful if you're facing plagues and you do that. Luckily, as you said, it's just one and not every plague in your deck.
Yes. You maybe just don't play that card against plagues. Just don't do it.
Or if you do play it against plagues, play it before they get Helia down so that it isn't getting shuffled with Helia.
God. Death Knight ruins everything. It's delightful. Okay.
Well, we also knew that I had definitely seen people speculating we've got to be getting some sort of Giggling Inventor callback. So we did. We got Giggling Toymaker, 4 mana, 2/1 common, Death Rattle, summon 2 1/2 mechs with Taunt and Divine Shield, and in the art, she is making a Noyotron, so presumably they are Noyotrons that you are getting out of the Death Rattle. But it is important to note that it is a Death Rattle and not a Battle Cry.
Not a Battle Cry. Yes, but it is also 4 mana and not 6, which Giggling Inventor was. So you can silence this and not have to deal with the Noyotrons, but that's a choice.
Or you can, so this doesn't save you if you're about to die this turn, unless you have some way to trigger or spread the Death Rattle on the turn that you play it. But it does make, you put this on something that they would have, or you play this down and then soon they have a very annoying wall. So I could see it having play, especially if there is something that spreads Death Rattles or triggers Death Rattles.
I think Hearthstone's also kind of evolved to a point that I don't know how much 2 free Noyotrons are going to ruin the meta like it did when Giggling Inventor was printed, because Giggling Inventor was in every deck at that point. I don't see Giggling Toymaker doing that, both because of the Death Rattle and because I don't think 1/2 Divine Shield taunts are going to be as disruptive as they were back then. But it's
you're probably only playing this if you have some sort of synergy, like the Death Growl, add Reborn to this, and then you're waiting up for that cage head.
Now you're filling up your board with Noyotrons instead of actual minions, so that I don't even know how good that is.
That's true. If you have some sort of over the top way to win, then maybe you're doing this to survive until then. But I don't think this is taking over the meta. 4 mana for something that doesn't give you protection right away by itself is a lot to ask. We also have a new giant, Playhouse Giant, 20 mana, 8/8 mech, rare, costs 1 less for each card you've drawn this game. There's going to be decks that play this that just draw really quick.
Just handlock. Just like Mad at Arms probably was just like jumping up and down when he saw this, right? Because we're already getting Molten Giant and Mountain Giant back, and now that's what handlock does. It draws cards. So, but I mean also Demon Hunter, maybe? I mean, Demon Hunter is doing a lot of turbo draw things. So that's potentially something that you can just kind of use as a payoff. But, it's 20 is a lot. So you kind of need to be either drawing through your deck or because remember, you already have like 3 to 4 cards in your hand from the mulligan that don't count as drawn, right? So you're starting with 25 to 26 cards or 26 to 27 cards in your deck. In order to get this free, you have to have drawn 20 of them, which means either you're putting the cards back or you are drawing through your deck repeatedly and then getting to something. Again, Handlock may not care. It's just something that they can do later in the game, but it's going to take Handlock a little while to get that playable. They still have to draw 10 cards before it even costs 10.
That's true. Or if we're putting this... Yeah, this is something that you're playing around when you're getting Reno in a duplicate deck to be playable. A little bit earlier than that. But that gives you a sense of when you're playing this, but it's still a free 8/8. Dread Lobster says Gaslight Gatekeeper's time to shine.
it's an anti-plague DK tech because the cast when drawn all count as draws.
Now we're cooking.
This is the tech card against Plague Death Knight. Now the Steam Cleaner's going out. Please don't do that.
One more note on the giggling toy maker. Donkey keeps putting in great points in the chat here. I believe that the unholy graveyard strength is not rotating. And
Great Strength isn't. So that is a sticky board for that.
So that is a sticky board that then you can send face. And they're also the ones who could spread that death rattle, like add Reborn, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, and Playhouse Giant, for that, we know that they're giving Handlock support. I mean, we don't know exactly what's in this set yet, but we know from core that they're pushing that Handlock.
Yeah.
So, all right. We also have Caricature Artist. 4 mana, 3/4 common. Battle Cry, draw a minion that costs 5 or more. Give it a funny mustache. Now, to be clear, the funny mustache has no gameplay effect.
It is the mustache. It is the mustache tech that they introduced for the Battlegrounds quest that summons a copy of your highest attack or health minion. So it's the same little mustache that it's going to be, like little cardboard mustache that they put on that minion in Battlegrounds. That's what it's going to have.
Which is going to be adorable. But yes, there has been some confusion of like, wait, does that do something? It does not. It's just cute. But tutor for your expensive thing, or maybe you're running several and you don't care which one you get. I mean, we definitely saw a lot of the Druid Flowerborn.
Summer Flower Child.
Flower Child. Now that was drawing 2 and reducing their cost. So this is not as good as that, but it's also only 4 mana. And tutors tend to see play, or at least have a better chance of seeing play. And it has a mustache, so you have to play it just for the mustache.
Yes, of course. I mean, it would be nice if like the golden one also gave it like a top hat.
That would be incredible. Well, and these are, your minions that cost 5 or more, so they're going to be your like big serious minions. I just love the idea of the caricature artist getting like the
like Grom with a mustache.
Grom with a mustache. Sylvanas with a mustache.
Or Rag with a silly mustache. That's delightful.
The caricature artist is afraid of no one.
Yes, and again, it's another artist who draws. So
that is yes.
Yes.
All the artist cards draw.
Yeah.
Being a translator for Hearthstone must be such a difficult job.
At a certain point, I'm sure you just don't try anymore. Like,
yeah. Although I suppose, the real art would be, can you come up with any puns that are still what the original card said, but weren't there in English, right? That's the real artistry of it. No pun intended on artistry there. So I did feel a bit stressed when I joined the show. There were several people who were teasing me, since Hat left, we need lots of puns from you. And I'm like, I only make puns by accident. I'm sorry.
So you just have to stop thinking about it and then you'll do it. That's science is what that is.
So really, if you remind me I need to make puns, you're making them less likely.
Yeah. Just let them happen. It's just let the process work.
Luckily, you have dad jokes for all of us.
Yes.
All right. We'll try to keep going a little quicker through these. So we have Scarab Keychain is a 1 mana 1/1 beast, common, Battlecry, discover a 2-cost card. So, yeah, it's a curve. I mean, it's only a 1/1 to begin with, but it's a beast. It's a curve.
Yeah. I mean, we've had cards like that before that have, so like the Peddler for Dark Peddler for Warlock has been, I mean, that was, discover 1-cost card, but those see play occasionally, and it's a cheap beast. If you have like a, Hunter again is running Master's Call. If we're doing an all beast deck, you need a 1-drop. Maybe that's something that you play in there, or you'll get it from, Ball of Spiders sometimes if you're playing that, whatever. But it's, it's a decent little 1-drop, and getting a 2-drop to fix your curve is, in decks that care about that is sometimes a pretty good thing.
Yeah. And it activates Greedy Partner.
Yeah.
As a,
that it does.
Not that Greedy Partner is very hard to activate, but we also have Plucky Paint Fin. Is a 3-mana 2/3 Murloc, common, poisonous. Battlecry, draw a rush minion.
This seems gross.
It does not have rush itself. So it's not like 3-mana kill something and draw a rush minion, but they're going to have to get rid of this somehow. And you can tutor your Ziliax if you gave it rush. You can tutor lots of things potentially.
Yeah, like we just talked last week about Town Crier in Core, and how like strong that of the card that was in Warrior for like the 2 years that it was in Standard. And now every deck is getting Town Crier. Like if you're running rush minions, especially if you're running a small number of them, but you really want to get them, like that is a powerful thing you can put in. And it's still like a 2/3 poisonous is a decent body on a 3-drop, even without the battle cry. So again, not in every deck, nor should it be, but this feels like it's a pretty reasonable tool for decks that will want it. Either if you're a Murloc deck, or you're just running like a couple of rush minions, or, and then you get the poison on top of it just as a bonus. Like that seems pretty good.
Yeah. And it's a Murloc, so if we get a Murloc deck of some sort, and rush seems like the kind of thing you give Murlocs, we might have something where this slots in either this expansion or later. And this is an extremely mischievous looking Murloc, just completely destroying everything in the art room, which is kind of entertaining as well.
Yeah, like I could see like in a Plague or Excavate, or I guess it would have to be a Plague Death Knight, like play a 3-drop, get a poison minion, draw either Reska or Chain Guardian. Like that seems pretty decent.
That seems decent.
Yeah.
Those are cards that you want. Those are cards that you want to mulligan away and then get later. So this is...
Yeah.
All right. Now, I did put in the origami cards, which I know are not on your slide because I put it in too late. The 2 origami cards I wanted to point out most were Origami Crane and Origami Dragon. So Origami Crane is a 4-mana, 4/1 beast, rare. Taunt, battle cry, swap health with another minion. So you make something else easy to kill, presumably of your opponents, and then you have a taunt, hopefully with a big butt there to block the opponent. So, it's a little bit like Reverberations in that now you have to do 1 damage to this thing to kill it in terms of removal. Not as flexible as Reverberations, obviously, but if you're just using it as removal, it might be better because then you get something with a big body left behind and taunt. Also, the art for this is beautiful. The art for the origami cards in general is beautiful. Apparently, these were Leo's brainchild. He was a big fan of origami, and so he decided he needed to make these. The Origami Dragon is a 6-mana 1/1 dragon, epic, divine shield, and lifesteal. Battlecry, swap stats with another minion. So it is expensive, and you really kind of want your opponent to have something big to make this work. But if we're in a meta where there's frequently going to be an opponent with something big, you make it a 1/1 and then you have a divine shield lifesteal big thing. Yeah.
Or like if you're on 7 mana as a warlock, you monstrous form something and then origami dragon it. Like
monstrous form attack, then origami dragon it, copy that with your Forge of Wills.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems good. And like, I think this was before your time, but like this was a thing in Priest, like this whole swapping attack and health. Like Vol'jin was a card that was played occasionally, like original Vol'jin.
I actually did play original Vol'jin. I took a break in between that time and when I came back, but yeah.
Yeah. And Twilight, what the hell was the name of the card? Twilight Acolyte was a card in Priest, which was a 3-mana 2/4 battle cry. If you're holding a dragon, swap this minion's attack with another minions. That was in every Priest deck that ran dragons. Every single one. Because like just neutering a minion and then having a high attack minion on your side was like really powerful for 3 mana.
And there is also an Origami Frog that has that effect.
Yes.
Where it swaps its attack with something, neuters the attack of something, gives itself hopefully a high attack. And Wash in the comments has pointed out you can take somebody's ridiculous Primus and make it a 1/1.
Yeah.
So lots of things that you can do with that. I also wanted to just briefly point out Workshop Janitor, 5 mana, 5/5 common battle cry. If you control a location, draw 2 cards. It's kind of expensive, but it draws 2 cards. And it suggests we're going to be seeing, we did just have all the Nathria locations, or are about to have all the Nathria locations rotate. But suggests, we've been seeing trickles of locations every expansion since. So there's always going to be a deck that's like, we really need draw, what do we do? And if you are a deck that plays locations, you usually have one sitting around.
Yeah, especially, or you just run Prison of Yogg-Saron.
Or you just run Prison of Yogg-Saron.
I mean, that's not the greatest plan, but that's a plan.
You run Prison of Yogg-Saron. You get ready to play Workshop Janitor the next turn, but in the meantime, you Wheel of Death with your Prison of Yogg-Saron.
As one does.
As one does.
You don't need to Wheel of Death after Prison of Yogg-Saron. Your Prison of Yogg-Saron will do it for you every single time.
Exactly. But your plan was to draw cards, and now you are drawing fatigue.
Yes.
All right.
But then that just gives you a better story when you play it anyway, just to assert dominance.
If there ends up being some sort of thing like the Stormwind Warlock quest, where you give your damage.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Don't even joke. Don't even joke.
I don't think that's what we're getting, but that would be what would make it see play. Warrior. So we had 2 classes revealed. First revealed yesterday, as we're recording this, so Wednesday, was Warrior, which has a sort of mech death rattle theme, also some armor gain. This was suggested by Inventor Boom, which had been revealed earlier. That was the battle cry, resurrect 2 friendly mechs that cost 5 or more. They immediately attack random enemies, the legendary. We got some big mechs to go with that. So we got a legendary 9 mana 3/9 mech bot face. Taunt, after this takes damage, get 2 random minis into your hand so you can play them. And every time this takes damage, you get those. So you summon this with Inventor Boom, or cheat it out in other ways that we're about to talk about. It attacks, you get 2 random minis, it probably survives, so you're going to get 2 more random minis at least, probably. They might burn a card from your hand because you have so many minis, but you probably don't care.
Yeah. And I should mention, just for those of you who have not been playing for long enough to get the reference, this is a callback to a card called Rotface from Knights of the Frozen Throne that every time it took damage would summon a random legendary. So this is a deep cut, but it is a pretty cool card, and I think that like it's worth consider. Like, I know there are some people who just kind of looked at this and like, this is trash, and I really don't think it is, because there are a few things, and we'll talk about some of the other cards in Warrior, but just like, first of all, like, minis are going to be powerful. I think you're more likely to play this in like a Highlander Warrior, where you just have you have the room, and you're running Bran, and a lot of the minis are going to be battle cries again. So that's really powerful. It's probably going to take your opponent a few swings to get through this. You're probably you might be more concerned about burning cards than anything else, honestly, because it's a 3/9 taunt is like a lot of butt to have to chew through. I mean, even late in the game, it's a lot of health to chew through.
And the minis in general, they have powerful battle cries. And yeah, I mean, even if you do, I think this does run a decently high risk of burning a card, but you probably don't care that much in most circumstances. So I think this whole package seems really fun. And this is one that I know that Edelweiss was excited about. And sorry, she's not here to talk about, because the whole big mech package is something that she's excited about experimenting with. We also got a couple more mechs. Fireworker is a 5-mana 5/5 mech. Death Rattle, summon 2 1/1 boom bots. And of course, we have to have the flavor text warning bots may explode. We also have Testing Dummy, 6-mana 4/8 mech, taunt, Death Rattle, deal 8 damage randomly split among all enemies. So this probably won't die immediately when summoned by Inventor Boom. But we also have some cards that will cheat out or damage or trigger death rattles of minions, especially mechs that you have. So Wreck 'em and Deck 'em is a 3-mana epic spell. Choose a friendly mech, summon a copy of it that attacks a random enemy and then dies. So you put that like on your testing dummy, and you have a 4 attack something, and then it dies, and then it does 8 damage randomly split among all enemies. We have Boom Wrench, is a 4-mana 3/2 weapon with miniaturized, so the mini can be a weapon as well. Death Rattle, trigger the death rattle of a random friendly mech. So when you use up your Boom Wrench, you get your testing dummy to go off potentially, or your Fireworker to get your boom bots or your 8 damage. There's also Chemical Spill, 5-mana epic spell. Summon the highest cost minion from your hand, then deal 5 damage to it. So if that's bot face, you're getting some minis. If that's Fireworker, that's maybe not your favorite one, but at least you get a couple of boom bots. And I had made a list of some other things that you might be doing this with, such as Containment Unit is still going to be in standard. So Containment Unit is the one that summons an 8-drop when it dies. I believe that it has 6 health, but it'll be there.
Yeah, it's a 7-mana 6/6.
7-mana 6/6. So it'll still be alive, but as soon as it dies, you're getting an 8-drop out of it. We also have a new one we didn't talk about, Factory Assembly Bot. Is 10 mana, so you really don't want to be like playing this. But if you cheat it out, it's a 6/7 mech with miniaturize. At the end of your turn, summon a 6/7 bot that attacks a random enemy. So you could cheat this out with Chemical Spill, although then you don't get the mini. Again, if you cheat it out, you didn't play it, you don't get the mini.
Yeah, but you still get like a 5-mana 6 something, and then
that summons another
6/7. Yeah, that attacks something else, right? So that's not bad. You could also build a Ziliax that you'll want to do this too.
Yes, you can build
a Divine
Ziliax.
Shield Ziliax. A Divine Shield Ziliax, like you don't care if it takes 5 damage, like fine. Then it just soaks it from the chemical spell and then goes and attacks things. Like that's fine. And
if you give it the Death Rattle of Recursion, you can just kind of have endless numbers of them in your deck. I don't know if you want endless numbers of Ziliax, like regular Ziliax with +1/+1. And recursively they go back in your deck, but maybe you do. Not, I suppose, if you're playing Highlander cards.
Yeah, that's less exciting. Yes.
But if you're not playing Highlander cards, there's also, there's plenty of, if we're talking mechs, we can also magnetize onto mechs that survive and make them bigger again. Bronze Gatekeeper. There's some things. There's also a card, Quality Assurance, 2-mana, draw 2 taunt minions. So that can draw your Ziliax, that can draw your bot face, that can draw your testing dummy, a Thunderbringer, but although we don't have Neptulon anymore to go with your Thunderbringer. Yeah. There was Potato Cat in the Discord was playing around with an Abyssal Bassist deck because the Boom Wrench is 2 weapons in 1. So you could cheat out the Abyssal Bassist, and you can also tutor it. Then you can get it down for really cheap really early, and then just throwing in some of those mechs on top of it to add more. Yeah, and Chemical Spill seems to go really well with bot face too. Like
you get it down on 5 instead of on 9. So you get a 3/4 that gives you 2 minis in your hand right away. And then you'll probably get another 2, right? And then you have that in the Deadpool for Inventor Boom. So like I think Chemical Spell is a really interesting card to really think about how you could use it. Like with Grom, obviously, like that's really strong because Grom's also very often going to be the most expensive card in your hand. Even if you're just like, I don't know if you're going to be summoning Rag, but you could, I guess, right? Like, you know, like there are other use cases for that outside of just like triggering mech death rattles, but just like, you know, if you're just looking at expensive cards, like Grom is obviously something that you want to be thinking about. I'm looking at the other ones for like Warrior. You know, there's not a whole lot else in Warrior other than Grom that you really want because like you don't want to be summoning Odin or Tidal Revenant. Well, Tidal Revenant's going anyway, but like, you know, Boomboss, Thogron, or Odin, you want the battle cries off of. But you know, there are other use cases for some of those things. Like maybe I'm not recommending this, but maybe you want to get Ysera out and get the 2 green cards out of it. Like maybe that's a thing that you want to do. Like, you know, you do you. But there are other use cases for that might be relevant.
And this might be a different deck. I think this might be a different deck than Highlander or than Odin. If we're doing like the mech death rattle thing, we might want more density of that. So I don't know if it's better than what Warrior is currently doing, but I definitely want to at least experiment with like going all in on the mechs and the death rattles and chemical spell and see what that looks like. And you probably do want like 2 testing dummies for that.
Yeah, absolutely. 2
chemical spells, etc. 2 boom wrenches. Yeah. There's a couple extra warrior cards. Safety Goggles is a 2 mana common spell, gains 6 armor, costs 0 if you don't have any armor. Seems solid.
That seems good. Do play that on 5 with a Sanitize and, you know, clear out basically any board at that point.
Yeah, who needs to forge it?
And like, I mean, in Odin Warrior, like even 2 mana for 6 armor is fine, but 0 is better. When you're trying to do things like you're still going to have Ignis for being able to do like Wind Fury things. So being able to just like get 6 armor for free with Odin is relevant and something that you're probably going to want to be able to do.
Yeah. And, you know, it's a great defensive tool in the early game. If you're playing Highlander, just like one of these might just be something that you do. You know, it doesn't have like tradable or draw or replace itself like a shield block, but the 0 mana with Odin seems valuable. We also got Lab Patron, 4 mana, 3/3 rare. The first time you gain armor each turn, summon another Lab Patron. So, and that is the first time you gain armor each turn, not the first time since you summoned this patron, if that makes sense. So when you summon the second one, and if you gain more armor, neither of them triggers because it's not the first time that turn you gained armor. And you're also going to be sad if you gain armor in the turn and then you play Lab Patron. Because
don't do that.
Don't do that. It's the same as Golganeth and the first spell on the turn.
Yeah.
But if you summon another one and they both live somehow, then they will go out of control. So,
I mean, they're going to go out of
until they have a 3 mana AoE.
I mean, like it's a little bit like people see patrons and they freak out because like we all remember Grim Patron and like that is different because that was every time that something was happening that you were summoning a new one, and this is going to be once a turn. This is Malignant Horror, but worse.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's really what this is. Like there's probably a use case, but this is like they're just going to be 3/3s that you can clear. If you clear one of them, then they only get one more. They're not going to get a whole board of them. You're not going to have to do that every turn. I mean, they could proliferate, but then they've got a board of 3/3s. And that's still going to take them a while to... I mean, yeah, they could go like patron, hero power on 10, and now they've got 4 3/3s. Hunter can do that on 4. with the Spellstone, right? So like, I mean, I've been playing a Spell Demon Hunter to know that like 4/3/3s on board is not nothing, but it's also something that
lots of decks can deal with. Yeah. And in Spell DH, they have Lifesteal. And here they don't have anything except for the potential to replicate once a turn.
Yeah.
So yeah, I am not scared of this card. You know, the patron that we got in Mech Rogue that then got nerfed, like that had to get nerfed because you could give it stealth and you could make it giant and nobody could deal with it. This is not like that.
Yeah, like you're not getting a copy of Lab Patron. Like I think that's also important. Like you're not getting a copy of Lab Patron. So like you can go and buff it, but you're still getting a 3/3 when it summons a new one. So that's the thing with Lab Constructor is that it was summoning a copy of itself, and then you had Magnetize on top of that. So that's when it got really out of control. This is just summoning another 3/3. It's still got that text on it. You're going to have to deal with that one in order to get rid of them, but it's not like the reason that Grim Patron was so annoying is that you had to do 3 damage all at once or use like non-damage based AoE to kill them. And like that's not easy to do. And then if you couldn't clear all of them in one fell swoop without damaging one halfway, then you were just going to be making the problem worse. This is not that, like, not even close.
No. This is not a Grim Patron. Even though, you know, the art, they of course are hearkening back to it. Yeah, and I think one thing I wanted to mention for Botface and the minis is that if you wanted to have this is a place where you might play Geppetto. Again, you'd probably get more minis than you have room for in your hand.
Yeah.
But if you want to get a bunch of those back, that's something that you could potentially do. You can use caricature artists to tutor some of your big stuff. You can use Town Crier to draw your Ziliacs as well. So, or, you know, you're probably using Town Crier instead of Plucky Paintfin and Warrior, but
yeah.
There are lots of options for this, I think, and I look forward to stealing decks that Edel makes on.
Oh, you mean putting them in the client, not playing Identity Theft to take her cards. You can't do that anymore.
We can't do that anymore. At least not that particular card. Also, her least favorite thing is she makes these unique decks and then people just steal them from her with Identity Theft.
She's not here to glare at me with daggers in her eyes when I bring up Identity Theft. So, you know,
we can still imagine it somewhere.
Yes.
All right. Well, is there anything else that we want to say about Warrior, or should we move on?
No. Let's move on to how Druid's going to make us upset.
Yeah. Speaking of being upset, we had a brief discussion. You know, Elle is not feeling very well today, of course, but she was briefly messaging us a little bit about some of these cards and said, "I'm really excited for Warrior. I'm worried about Druid." So, Druid gave us a sort of one main big package and then a number of other cards. So the biggest package that we got was a spell damage package. So I'll go through what those cards are first, and then I did make a list in the show notes that I'm not going to read out every single thing, but was like every single card I could find in the client that might be relevant for this. So the relevant spell damage cards that we got, one is a Location Magical Dollhouse, 1 mana, 3 durability, gain spell damage +1 this turn only. I should say also, by the way, most of these cards were revealed by friend of the show, Blister Guy, and as always, absolutely adorable reveal video with his daughter, and it's also on YouTube now, not just on Twitter. So
he's embracing modern technology.
He has embraced modern technology. So definitely check out that video. I'll link it here, or you can just find it on the internet. They are always delightful. So we have Magical Dollhouse is one way to get spell damage. Another way to get spell damage was the Chia Drake that we talked about before. That was the mini with choose one, gain spell damage +1, or draw a spell. You can also get spell damage with the new legendary, Aulonius. 7 mana, 6/6, spell damage +1. Your spells get double bonus from spell damage. I'm not quite certain how this works if you manage to get 2 of them on the board.
I think it works the way you think it does. If it's like everything else that has doubled, then it's probably, I would expect that works exactly the way you think it does. And now I'm going to have to go find some Tums.
Especially if it happens to be multiplicative instead of additive.
I think it is.
Which is how
I'm pretty sure
cards tend to be in Hearthstone. Yeah,
it's either multiplicative or it's irrelevant. But when it says double, I mean, I'm thinking back to like OTK Demon Hunter, and whenever you had more than one double on the battlefield, it quadrupled. Yeah, so I would say that is. Oh God, Shattered Reflections. Oh Lord. Okay.
Shattered Reflections,
right.
cover artist, and we're going to talk about a way you can make all these things cheaper too. Yep. So, is there any of these other ways have ways to give you spell damage? I mean, of course, there's like Thalnos, but I think these are the main ways that you're getting.
Yeah. Did you say Bottomless Toy Chest?
So then there's various cards that benefit from your spell damage. So one of them is Bottomless Toy Chest, 2 mana arcane spell.
Oh yeah, that doesn't actually give you spell damage. It's a weirdly worded card. Yeah. It
says discover a card from your deck. If you have spell damage, copy it, meaning copy the card you discovered. So if you have your location down, you've used it this turn, for example, then you're basically doing a creation protocol, except for you could get a spell. So there's also a card, Woodland Wonders, 5 mana common spell, summon 2 1/5 beetles with taunt, costs 3 less if you have spell damage. So again, if you have like the location on 1, you could have 2 1/5 beetles with taunt on 2. Seems like a pretty good curve. So there are things that care about spell damage besides cards that do damage. In terms of cards that do damage, we only got 1 in this set, which is Sparkling Phial. 3 mana arcane spell, deal 2 damage. Your next card this turn costs that much less. So not two less if you have no spell damage, but why are you playing this card if you have no spell damage?
Yeah.
Probably this is either free or actually discounting your next card by more than 3. Other things that do damage that Druid has access to. Swipe. You could play that regularly. You can get it from Malfurion's Gift. Living Roots. Snake Oil from Miracle Salesman. Sludge from a Tram Mechanic if you're really desperate. Jasper, Spellstone, and Wrath, but those are minions only. Someone pointed out in the Discord that you could play Pyrotechnician. I don't think we're doing that, but that is hilarious. Most of those spells do benefit from spell damage. I
mean, Prison of Yogg-Saron, like, no joke, is going to benefit from spell damage also. Like, whatever you're playing from that, like, the spells that get cast out of the prison will also have spell damage attached to them, which could be relevant.
Yes.
Like, if we're talking about, like, a Reno Druid, for example, like, you know. That's potentially relevant. Something.
You can get extra stuff with Wandmaker, Raven Idol are decently likely to give you like Living Roots or a Malfurion's Gift. You can, play Flint. You can get double copies of cards with Dry Scale Deputy, with the Bottomless Toy Chest itself, with Fizzle, with Freya duplicating your hand. And remember that Nourish is rotating, so we can play other choose 1 cards now. We can also play something like Lifebinder's Gift, which will discount all of these spells by 1. Contaminated Lasher will make things cheaper if you've played a bunch of spells while you're holding it. Funnel Cake is a card as well if you're able to have things on the board. There is a new card, Wind Up Sapling, that refreshes mana. It is a 2 mana 2/1 tradable Battle Cry, refresh 1 mana crystal, trade to upgrade.
That's extremely ambitious.
That one is
even
extremely
for
ambitious.
Druid.
All of the wind up
you
cards.
have to trade that a lot to get value out of that. Yeah.
So that's probably not, in a world where Funnel Cake exists, we're probably doing Funnel Cake. But just in the interest of mentioning refreshes. But then another way that you can make this whole thing cheaper is a card called Insmallen, which I do love, by the way, that it's called Insmallen. It is a 3-mana nature spell, epic. Reduce the cost and attack of minions in your deck by 1. So that Aulonius now costs 2. For example, the cover artist you want to use to copy it costs less. And we have even more minions that come in this set that will be cheaper or free.
So you play 2 of those, and then on turn 10, you can Aulonius and Shattered Reflections, and then make your opponent's eyes roll all the way back in their head.
I think in Smallin, even in something like, you might, lots of things you maybe don't care that much if you get the attack down. There's lots of buffs that Druid has that you can get it bigger again. You can get A&R down with a little bit of extra mana left over even before you do the refresh. You can get like an early Doomkin. I don't know. There's a million things that you can get down early.
Like a lot of minions that Druid plays, like you don't care about the body. Like if you're getting a Rheastraza, then like, do you care if it's a 6/8? I don't care if it's a 6/8, right? Like that's fine, right? Because the other thing is that you're also getting it out sooner. So like the attack is smaller, but also it's coming down a turn earlier. So that's, even if it's like a regular, just big body minion, it's still going to be a reasonable size if it's coming down a turn earlier, if it's got 1 less attack.
So this is something, it's slower than ramp, right? But it can have a bigger effect if you're playing more than 1 minion in a turn. You're essentially cheating even more mana. So you do need, like with Druid often, to be not, it's a low tempo play, but it could do a lot. And you might be playing it with something like Jade Display. Yes, Jades are back, sort of. It is a 1/1 with Death Rattle. Your Jade displays have +1/+1 this game. Shuffle 2 of them into your deck.
Don't play this in Reno, Druid. You're going to be sad, I promise you.
But if you do this and then you Insmallen all of them in your deck, now they're free.
Yeah, they are.
And I
mean, like this is like, again, this is an obvious callback to Jade Druid. And this is not Jade Idol, like not even close, because the thing is that this is the only thing that can buff them. They can only buff themselves, and if somebody silences this, then it's done, right? Whereas you could, with the Jade Idols, like there was no way to really stop it other than like doing really obnoxious things, like burning the top card off your opponent's deck after somehow getting it on top. This is the only way to buff them is by the Death Rattle. If you can silence or Reno the first one, then it's no longer an issue.
But I mean, I feel like this is not necessarily your main game plan. Like this is what you do to have some extra value against a control deck. You just like throw this in.
This is an ETC card, right? Like this is the kind of thing you probably throw in an ETC, but it's, I think that I'm just pointing this out for people who see those 4 letters in that particular configuration and have a immediate emotional reaction to seeing that card text on a card that with the word Jade on it. But I don't think that this is nearly as powerful as Jade Idol, like not even close, especially because the other Jades were also buffing the idols, and that was also shuffling 3, not 2.
Yeah. I mean, we do have ways to copy the Jade display, right? You can use Celestial Projectionist, you can use the Bottomless Toy Chest, you could use Ravenous Kraken, which doubles the Death Rattle. I feel like that's actually the one that you would, if you're really going all in on this and not just putting it on ETC, that's the one that you use.
Yeah.
But
Or just Shattered Reflections, which is the answer to everything in Druid.
the answer to everything. But it's slower. It is a death rattle. It's only 2 of them. So I don't think we need to completely freak out. We should also mention the last Druid card here. Sky Mother Aviana.
I think it's Aviana, but yeah.
Aviana is a 6-mana 5/5 legendary. Battle cry, shuffle 10 random legendary minions into your deck. They cost 1 or 0 if you small on them.
And random legendaries are always good.
Well, random legendaries that cost 0, we know from the Countess, although you do get to discover them in Countess and play them right away.
Yeah.
Little bit of a difference on both.
You don't have to draw them with the Countess, and that's a big difference.
Yes.
I mean, this is Elysiana. That's what this is, right? It is like we're talking about like fatigue, and like you have Jade Display as a potential game plan. But if you're playing a Reno Druid, you're not really going to want to play Jade Display because that turns off all your Reno stuff. And also opposing Renos can mess with that. But this works no matter what, right? Like this is definitely putting 10 cards in to your deck. They're not guaranteed to be unique, but they're pretty likely to be unique, right? And even then, like, you're going to draw them and you'll get through them, but it's really doing exactly what Archivist Elysiana was doing. Archivist Elysiana was a card that had a battle cry of discover 5 cards, replace your deck with 2 copies of each of them, right? And you would play that at the end of the game, and then that would give you 10 more draws so you weren't drawing into fatigue. This is doing the same thing. It's giving you 10 more draws before you hit fatigue. That's all it's doing. You're going to put it in ETC for specific matchups where you are worried about hitting fatigue, and you'll probably play it late in the game after you've drawn whatever else you care about, because then you're just drawing the legendaries and you don't really care. You're playing this in a scenario where you don't care what you draw out of your deck, as long as it doesn't make the fatigue sign come up. That's the only reason you're playing this.
This lets you have
that's a valid use case sometimes.
This lets you actually draw when you're facing a Control Priest, if Control Priest is a thing, right? As a Druid, you can draw a bit, and then the Control Priest doesn't get to do this against you because it's a Druid card. So that gives you something to do. But I've mostly been looking at the spell damage package and like trying to figure out, are we doing this as just some extra over the top where we have some other game plan? You know, we have like Ignis, we have Beetles, or I think especially if you can get multiple of those Aulonius cards, even though we don't have like Moonbeam is rotating, but just swipe Living Roots, Sparkling File. That adds up to a lot pretty quickly when you discount it, when you have, you know, even just like a greedy partner, you have ramp, have ways to get more of all of these damage spells. And in order to survive, Edel was pointing out all those Rumble cards we talked about last week, those new neutral core cards are like multiple of them are good neutral board clearers. So that gives Druid a chance to sit there and try to survive and be, you know, there could be a combo deck in here. Usually I'm like, everyone always wants to make the combo deck work first, and it's never the combo deck. It's always just like use it in a proactive tempo way. But in this case, it might actually be a combo deck.
I mean, this is Frost Death Knight is really, assuming that it works this way, it's like original Frost Death Knight. Like Sparkling File is Glacial Advance. Old Glacial Advance before they nerfed it. I mean, that's effectively what it is. And, you know, if you can pump up the spell damage, if you can somehow copy Aulonius, like, I don't know how reasonable this is, but I will not put it past Druid to find a way. Because, like, we've seen stupider win cons from Druid than this. Like the whole like Zach Fogsnout, a Nubricon nonsense, right? Like we have seen just dumber, more annoying win cons be viable in Druid. So I could see this working. I could also see it not working, or they get something in the mini set that is like another damage spell, or they find some other way to generate damage or get spells from other classes or something. There's something here. It feels like this is a real thing. I just don't know if it's going to be real out of the gate or if it's going to take some time to come together.
Yeah, we still have a mini set and 2 more expansions and 2 more mini sets just in this year to get more damage spells, and then it'll be in standard for 2 years, unless they nerf it into the ground. If it ever gets really, really good for an extended period of time, I imagine it'll get hit. It's the kind of deck that does. But I'm, in a way, I mean, maybe if this comes to pass, I will be not feeling this when I get killed for the millionth time by a Sparkling File, but it might be kind of fun to have a Druid that is killing you with damage instead of a Druid that's making 50 A&Rs and then staring at you.
Yeah, I mean, also if it's not gaining 20 armor in the process, then maybe that's fine. But
yeah, the sort of deck that where you have those like cool combo games where you're like almost dead the whole time, but then you piece together the damage at the last second. That's like the dream of the combo deck. So, but that kind of deck does tend to be controversial when it works.
Any Druid, any functional Druid deck tends to be controversial,
which we understand as priest mains.
Yes. Yeah, and I mean, like, there's probably some worlds in which you have like Flint Firearm to get like Pocket Sand for some extra damage or something stupid like that, right? Like there's other ways to get damage spells of varying degrees of awkwardness. So I'm not going to rule it out. It feels like maybe this is sort of safe, but I've been burned too many times by things that looked sort of safe with Druid that turned out to not be safe at all. So
sometimes they're sleepers, right? Like the Beatles. They seemed completely useless for a long time.
Well, Card or Sleeper is useless, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, I still haven't actually gotten my pre-order bundle, and I have not missed it. As long as I get it before the actual expansion in my account, then I'll be fine. Yeah.
Well, I think that's going to do it. We're going to get more cards. We'll be talking about the rest of the cards through next week. I don't think we're going to have all of the cards revealed by next week's episode, but we should have a lot of them. So we'll have more to talk about next week. But until then, we have many folks we'd like to thank. So check out our thanks section on the website at coinconcede.com, where you can also find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. And join our community chats on our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com and write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at coinconcede, as well as like, share, and follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/coinconcede. And if you would like some CC swag, head on over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. Big thanks to our producers, Number Theory, Kresh, Beef Squatch, David P., Walu, Jeremy T., Bottle Caps, Grumpy Monk, The Burger Club, Kirk Regan, Forgiven One, Grizzly Bear, The Grand Arcanum, and our newest producer, who I had to ask how to pronounce his name because I was not going to get it right, Tyler Knife. So Tyler Knife, thank you. Also, Tyler Knife was very nice on my stream last week to drop 10 gift subs as well. So I appreciated that very much as well. Very generous. And also thank you to Wash in the Wind, Ohm51, and Contiguity for the subs throughout the stream tonight. And Coin Concedes, Magesa.
So I will coin concede to Ohm51 for first time legend this week, and congratulations for that.
Yeah.
And
wait! I've actually got it in the thing. Hold on.
Whoa, legendary!
There we go.
So I remember hitting first time legend and how completely exciting that was, and also how much the community had helped in getting to that point. And so thank you so much for your kind note about that. And I also liked your note of thank you to the Battlegrounds team for making Battlegrounds so complex. I played Standard instead. So sorry for the little burn onto Battlegrounds, but I thought that was pretty funny. Coin Concede to Blister Guy for a great reveal video, and also to everyone who's been doing really great reveal videos as well. And to Edelweiss for just hoping that you feel better soon, and glad that you're getting some rest.
Yes. Take care of yourself. Don't push it too hard, and you will get back and be throwing me shade about an identity theft in no time. I promise. So I am going to Coin Concede to Ben Hartstone for providing us the class reveal graphics that I've had on the stream today. Really appreciate, as always, him putting those graphics together so quickly and then make them available for the community. And he does a lot of other fine work. If you're not following him on Twitter, you really ought to, because you're going to get the news a lot faster than we're going to be able to deliver it to you by following him. I guarantee it. Also to both Racy and Ike, who are both have spent time in the hospital over the past week. Ike had some unexpected surgery. I don't think it was unexpected, but it was surgery that he knew he was going to have to do, and he's recovering from that. We wish him a swift recovery. And Racy is back in the hospital for heart issues, and that unfortunately is not going great. And sounds like he said, according to his tweet the other day, that he's got a heart infection that they're going to need to bring down, and then probably needs open heart surgery after that. So wishing him, all the best and swift recovery. And hopefully, it's been a long road for him, but hopefully, things will start improving after that. And I'm also going to Coin Concede to Grizzly Bear. We had a pretty good coaching session on this past weekend on Rainbow DK, which is not my strong suit, but we figured it out together. And he started out at Diamond 5, and he was having some trouble with the deck, and we played some games together, and I guess my coaching worked, because he messaged me afterwards and said he was 10-1 straight up to legend after that. So
all right.
I guess I have the sounds, I may as well use them, right? So but that was really cool to hear, and I'm glad that that the coaching worked. I don't always know that it does, but every so often we have something like that happens, and especially when it's a deck that I'm not particularly great on, but I'm glad that at least I can transfer the skills, and I do actually know what I'm doing, believe it or not. So
he does.
Yes. So but that's going to do it for us for this week. So until next time, keep calm and spin to win. And if you see us on ladder, Coin Concede.
Coin Concede.
Coin Concede.
All life must end. I yield for now. I concede. Well fought. I concede.
You win this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested me.
I give up.
You win this one, friend.